The deep sea is home to some of the scariest looking things known to man, and that's just what we know of it. There's plenty of the ocean floor we have yet to discover. But from what we have discovered, I think we could all agree there's some weird looking stuff down there. As humans, we tend to be curious and want to study things, so naturally, when we find new creatures, we capture and study them. This has gotten the team at Life's Biggest Questions thinking, what is the scariest deep sea creature ever caught? And that is what we'll be talking about today on LBQ. What's happening, guys? Welcome back to LBQ. Jared Bronstein here today. And before we get into this one, let me know your favorite deep sea creature in the comments below. I'm a fan of the anglerfish. They're scary looking, yet interesting. I don't really know what's going on with their faces. Kind of cool. As always, we've got some fun bonus content at the end of this one, so be sure to stick around so you don't miss out. For now, let's dive into it and talk about some deep sea creatures. To say that there is a single scariest deep sea creature that has ever been caught would be impossible. It all depends on your opinion of scary. One may think scary is a fish with rows of teeth covering most of its face, whereas others may think scary is a fish that looks harmless, but could kill you within hours of making contact. Thankfully, the deep sea has both of those, which we'll cover. Although I ultimately can't decide for you which creature is necessarily the scariest, over the course of this video, we'll be talking about a handful of some of the most horrendous things known to man, at least in my opinion, that live in the deep sea, obviously. Which one of these creatures is deemed scariest is ultimately up to you, but I promise all of the stuff we're about to cover will make you wish you didn't know of their existence. Now, as previously mentioned, it's important to keep in mind that a good majority of the ocean still hasn't been discovered, so all that we're about to cover is, as of this recording, and definitely subject to change. And now let's start by talking about the goblin shark. As you can imagine, the name probably gives imagery of an ugly looking fish, and you're right on the money with that. These deep sea sharks are pink and almost look like the zombie dogs from Resident Evil. Their snouts look as if they've been ripped up, leaving an exposed shark's mouth, but it turns out that's just the way these things naturally look. I know, it's gross. On average, they grow between 10 and 13 feet, weighing a few hundred pounds, but in the year 2000, the capture of a female goblin shark led to belief that their species can grow up to 20 feet. Although I wouldn't want to see any shark in water, this is the last one I'd want to see. You know, if I had a choice. Now, for someone who doesn't find sharks, or zombies, or whatever you could compare a goblin shark to scary, there's the vampire squid. Again, the name really does this thing justice. Now, vampire squids are actually harmless. They don't shoot ink, but instead a substance that creates a light. This is a self-defense mechanism to confuse any potential predators. But when looking at this thing, well, I don't know who would want to go after it in the first place. I'm not even sure where to start when trying to describe what one of these things looks like. It's almost a mutation between a bat and a squid. And although quite scary looking, they are incredibly small in size, averaging just about a foot. So if you're one of those people that gets freaked out by weird small looking things such as centipedes or spiders, then this may be the perfect match for you, when trying to determine the scariest deep sea creature ever caught, obviously. But now we get to talk about the classic deep sea fish, the one and only anglerfish. But anglerfish is a broad term, with over 200 species of anglerfish technically in our oceans. So we need to talk about the deep sea anglerfish. Now this is probably the scariest looking fish known to man, at least in my opinion. I was going to make this entire video about these things, but I realized that would be kind of ignorant, as it would simply be based on my opinion. So instead, I'm giving you the choice. Although I am incredibly biased toward the deep sea anglerfish, and here's why. Look at it. I can't even put into words what this thing resembles. A blob with a bunch of tiny sticks coming out of it, with a large mouth full of razor-sharp rows of teeth and two small eyes? Even that doesn't do this horrific-looking thing justice when describing how terrifying it really is to look at. And their personalities seem to match their physical being. Disgusting. I wouldn't actually know about that, but they do tend to eat quite literally anything and everything they can. Given the fact that where they live, they could go weeks or months without food, they make a meal of it all. This makes them extremely dangerous and vicious, and a good candidate to be considered the scariest deep sea creature caught on camera, to say the least. Maybe you find what scares you more, rather than physical appearance, is the power one tiny touch can have. That would be the case with the blue-ringed octopus. In fact, they're quite cute, and are literally miniature octopus. Octopi? Octopuses? You guys gotta let me know the plural for octopus in the comments down below. I always get confused with that one. Not gonna lie, they remind me of calamari, but I can tell you right now, this is definitely not what I want to eat when I'm out at the bar. Blue-ringed octopus are easily one of the most deadly creatures in the sea. Although the size of a small ball, they carry a venom that is 1,000 times more potent than cyanide and can kill more than 24 people within minutes. Yeah, they're small, but these things can clearly pack a punch. The neurotoxin these guys produce is called tetrodotoxin, which in humans blocks your nervous system. At first, you'd feel numbness, and then nausea, as well as possible blindness or loss of motor skills. The toxin eventually paralyzes you, and can potentially stop your breathing. There isn't an antidote either, but thankfully the blue-ringed octopus isn't a very aggressive creature. Unless they feel they're being threatened, you got nothing to worry about. And when they do, they show blue rings around their bodies, hence the name, to kind of warn off potential predators to back off. So, you know, if you see one, just back off. Although we've covered what I feel are probably the top 2 contenders for scariest deep-sea creatures in the deep-sea anglerfish and the blue-ringed octopus, there are 2 others that I need to include in this video based on look and presence alone. So here is the sarcastic fringe head. I know the name sounds like a joke, but these things are the furthest thing from funny looking. Imagine a fish made of Play-Doh. I wish I wasn't kidding. They're almost like a blob of different colors mushed together to make a fish, and that's not the worst part. When these things open their mouth, it looks like one of those frilled lizards. But again, its entire mouth is rainbow colored, and it almost looks as if a bat has appeared from the inside of this thing's face. Again, not the largest fish out there, but they are incredibly territorial, and their form of attack is to open that big mouth of theirs and intimidate. There's no poison or anything that comes out, so it's not the scariest fish known to man, but still, something about this bat-looking mouth makes me incredibly uneasy, and I just felt it was an honorable mention, to say the least. And lastly, the northern stargazer, also referred to as the Octopus guttitus, which I may have said wrong. I definitely said it wrong. These fish have flat heads and elongated bodies. On average, they are about 1.5 feet in size, but it's not so much their appearance that makes them one of the scariest and possibly deadliest creatures in the deep sea. Although not as venomous as the blue-ringed octopus, stargazers have 2 large spines set on the top of their fins, which they can use to paralyze prey or someone like you. Although it wouldn't kill someone, it would be extremely painful, could put someone in shock, and if that were to happen in the deep sea, well, odds are, then yeah, you die. And again, the fish I just mentioned are some of the scariest deep-sea creatures I was able to find, in my opinion. Personally, I'd say the anglerfish is the scariest, simply because it looks like a monster. If you came into contact with it, odds are you could swim away victorious from a battle. But who knows what a bite from one of those things would feel like? I wouldn't want to find out. And now, given what you guys know, which one of the creatures mentioned in our video do you think is the scariest? Or do you know of another even scarier deep-sea creature that was caught? Let me know in the comments below. As you guys know, I love hearing from you, so let's keep that conversation going. And now it's time to reply to some of your comments from another video. Make sure to drop us some comments on this one for a chance to be featured in our next one, or give us video suggestions. If we use yours, we'll give you a shout out. Anyways, in the video, what if Bloodshot was real? Anter said, hear me out, please, okay? What if Barack Obama was real? Okay, listen, man, I'm hearing you out. Maybe we could do like a FaceTime, like a one-on-one meeting, get into the boardroom, discuss this. But if we're going to commit to making a whole video on what if Barack Obama was real, I would need to know his significance. Like, is he an anime character? Is he like a video game character? Who is Barack Obama? Mick Griegel said, what if there's a cap on wealth per person? That's actually incredibly interesting. I feel like it could lead to a communist society, because at that point, you know, some people do things for wages. You know, some people get into business, I want to make a lot of money. For example, if a doctor is making the same wage as someone working at Starbucks, would the doctor want to keep doing it out of, you know, the goodness of their heart and their passion? Or are they doing it for the money, or both? It's an interesting topic to discuss for sure. Adam Britsch said, what if the coronavirus cure turned everyone into zombies or something? That would be a great movie premise. Is like this virus takes over, pandemic, the whole world shuts down, we find we find a cure that helps everything, and then like a month later, everyone starts to like mutate and turn into zombies, and it's like all over again, but way worse. That'd be crazy. I hope it doesn't happen. Joshua Pro Gamer said, what if Abraham Lincoln and JF Kennedy were resurrected in 2020? Honestly, aside from like politics and like you know, their beliefs and all the historical stuff, just the fact that 2 people came back from the dead would be enough of a this is the end of the world. Anyways, guys, I've been your host, Jared Bronstein. You guys have been watching Life's Biggest Questions. As always, I encourage you guys to drop us some comments down below with either video suggestions or your thoughts on our videos that we've covered for a chance to get featured in our next video. Make sure that you guys stay home, make sure that you guys stay safe, and we're trying to keep you guys as entertained as possible while we're going through this all together. We'll see you guys in the next one.